Good evening, guys. Glad to meet you all on day three of our program. Before we start with today's discussion, I just want to share that we have a counseling program offered for the month of April. So it's from 8 to 9 in the evening, and I'll be facilitating the session. So it is going to cover the area of counseling psychology in brief. Like we'll touch upon counseling in workplace and families and what are the skills required to be an effective counselor. And we'll try to make it as much as an experimental, an experiential learning process than just lectures and discussions. So it is going to be an active learning process for sure. So it is a month-long course. So if anybody is interested, you can feel free to reach out to us. You have the number in the poster. You're also in the group, so you can just feel free to contact our admin. We also have a few combo offers available. Let's say you're registering as a group of 3 members, there's 100 rupees off. A group of 5, you have off as appropriate. Group of 10. So I believe these posters will be shared in our group once the session is done. You guys can follow up on that. Yeah. Good evening, guys. So without further delay, let us kickstart today's session. We are going to have a very brief case presented. Right? So I'm going to give you a case in a nutshell. And once that is provided, we guys can have a discussion as to how we can proceed further with the case. Right? Let you all give in your inputs. I'll share my inputs as well. And then I'll conclude by saying what happened actually in the case and how did it go. So I expect it to be interactive because your inputs are valid. Your inputs are very much needed. Say the case is of a 55-year-old woman. Right? She's a widow. Currently, she is living with her third son, who is 25-year-old. So she has 2 other sons who are all well settled. They're married. They live with their own family. They have set up their own nuclear families. So they visit her every now and then. But she's living with her youngest son, who's 25 years old. Her problem is not about widowhood, because she's accepted it. She's completely fine with that particular part of life. But then her problem is all with her son. Because though he's 25-year-old, he has never picked up any responsibilities of the house. Nothing at all. So he's working, he has his own car, financially he's fine, but he does nothing for the functioning of the house. Let's say if he's home on a weekend, he'll just be cleaning his car or just be in his room, just playing something in the PlayStation or in the mobile phone, visiting his friends, asking his friends to come over. Very much of a teenager life in the middle adulthood. He'll have his place completely messy. Like say his worn clothes will always be in the ground, like he never puts it in the bin. Like it is very messy. His room is again very, very messy. So our client is someone who cannot withstand his particular behavior. Let's say he doesn't even care how the house is functioning. He doesn't even care to ask his mom, how things are funded, how things are running. He doesn't volunteer to pay the current bill. He doesn't volunteer to pay the gas bill. Nothing. Right? He's just like a very inactive, very distant occupant of the house. So she's worried. Like her son is not doing what he should be doing. Right? She doesn't expect him to do a lot, but at least the basic what can be expected out of him. So she tried telling him. All the conversation happened, right? She was explaining how she wants the house to be well set and maintained, and how his behavior is not appreciated. All those discussions happened, but then it wasn't fruitful. So at a point, our client got all irritated, and she was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna let the maid clean your room anymore." So after a point, she stopped the maid from cleaning his room. She believed that if the maid doesn't clean his room, then he automatically would start doing it. But what happened is that he didn't bother about it. So the room got even more messier and messier, which our client couldn't withstand. And after a point, she started cleaning things up. Now it was on her added duty. So she wanted to do something about it, and it is very much a disturbing factor for her. Let's say she wanted her son to move out of the house. Like say she believed, if I send him out, right, and if I ask him to set up his own place, maybe then he'll know what is the responsibility it takes to run a house. Maybe then he'll start paying attention. Maybe then he'll be a little more responsible. That is what she thought. Right? So with that being her ideology, she wanted to tell it to her son, but then she thought, no, how can I do it? A good mother will never ask their own children to move out of the house. So she's hesitant to do that as well. It doesn't sound good, doesn't feel good if I send my own son out of the house. So how do I do it? It is not fair. It is not nice. It is not the characteristics, or it is not the nature of a good mother. So she was hesitant to do that. Another problem that was spotted with our client is that, she is not able to be assertive with her family members. Like say elders in the family. She was not able to be assertive with them. She was not able to talk about her own opinions there. As an individual in the society, with neighbors, with colleagues, with friends, she was someone who was very assertive. Right? So she was very much assertive with people outside the family system. But then when it comes to people within the family, she is not able to voice out her opinion. She's not assertive at all. This again is another constant problem experienced by our client. So you might wonder, what is the big deal if she's not being able to be assertive? It is a big deal, because whenever an important discussion is going on, whenever let's say decisions are made, people in her family simply pass down their ideas to her, but she is not able to strongly say what she wants and how she wants. So that is one problem again faced. So everything put together, the behavior of her son, him not gaining responsibility, him not taking initiatives, him still being very, much like a teenager, behaving very much like a teenager. So the rapport between them is spoiled, and she's not able to upbring her son well. And also the fact that she's not being able to be assertive with her family members. So it brought down the morale of our client, and she was having trouble. And that is why she came up to us to seek support, because it was pulling her down. Right? His mood was down, her vibe was down, and it was pulling her down as an individual, and she was here to seek support. So as we understand, the problems faced by our client, we were able to frame three major goals for her. Three major goals for therapy. right? Because as I gave you just that was the problem she experienced. So based on what she shared, we came up with three goals for her, for the client. Goal number one is to help her talk to her son about moving out and starting his own place. And so he should shift to a new house on his own. That was one. Number two, she has to learn to be assertive with their family members as well. She was missing on it. So making her be assertive with family members was another goal for therapy. And number three is that we wanted to change her perspective about her own self. You know? She had a very strong perspective, very strong negative perspective that she's not a good mother if she asks her son to move out of the house. We wanted to alter that. No, it is not true. Because her intention of sending her son out of the house is not for her to enjoy. Right? Definitely, it is not intended for her to enjoy being alone, or she doesn't have any other agenda for sending him out. Her sole purpose of sending her son out was to make him learn some responsibilities. Make him more productive in that sense. To make him equipped to handle a family, to run a house on his own. That was the idea. Since her intention of sending her son out is pure, it is right, there is nothing wrong in doing so. So we wanted her to make more use of positive self-statements to tell her own self that she's a good mother. So these are the three goals for therapy. So we might have a question. Is sending her son out is the only option available? Right? So when we were discussing, she initially said, maybe I'll give him another chance. Right? Let me not tell him to move out of the house, but let me give him another chance. So maybe he'll try to change this time. We said, no, if he wants to take it seriously, he would have done that way earlier. So now it is not going to make any difference if you give him one more chance with this. And she agreed to it. She was like, yes, if I go tell this again, I've said this multiple times to him. If I say this again, it is not going to be making any difference. And then she said, maybe I'll change myself and accept him as he is. So change my expectation out of him, and I'll accept that my son's room will be messy, my son will not take responsibilities, and I'll accept that this is his pattern. We said it is not good for both of you. Right? It is not going to help him at any cost, right? Because he's not learning anything out of it. It is not helpful. It is not productive in any sense. And why do you want to live with, accept something which you don't like? Right? When you do not like a messy house, why let yourself, accept to be living in a messy house? So somehow she was convinced that sending her son out is the only right way possible. Right? It is the correct sense possible. So let us take one example, one of the goal. For example, her wanting to be more resilient and more assertive with her family members. How can we train her to be more assertive with her family members? Like, that is the goal that we have. So that is our milestone to achieve. How can we do that? How can we go about achieving that goal? What could be the route map? I am open to receiving feedbacks from the participants. You can share what is your perspective on how to make her more assertive with her family members. What is the measure that we can try to turn our goal into an achievement? How can we achieve that goal? Yes, guys, can we have some participation? We have to make our client more assertive. So what can we try to achieve it?
Affirmation.
Sorry, Anjali, can you repeat, please?
Affirmations.
Okay. Aishwarya says involving her in discussions. At first, she should write her point of view, then she should start to talk her opinion in front of a mirror. Okay. Like a step-by-step approach. Maybe she try to build her confidence that her opinion matters. Good. Maybe help them introspect why they find it difficult to be assertive with family members. Okay. What else can we try? Confidence is a major goal here. We have to make her confident first. Okay. Express needs with clarity without feeling guilt. Okay. To make her understand that it is her duty to make her son responsible, it can be done by her assertiveness. Okay. So connecting it to the bigger goal. Practice saying no, taking small steps like starting to be assertive among family or close friends. Empathy can play an important role. Okay. All right, guys. So let me give you, three options. I'll just give like three options here, and we'll discuss which would be apt. Option number one is sending our client to an assertiveness training program. Okay, we suggest her to attend an assertiveness training program, like in personality development programs that are conducted by soft skill trainers. So we can ask her to attend assertiveness training programs. That is number one. Number two, we can ask her to read books on assertiveness. We can suggest few books to our client, and she can start reading it and understanding it, processing it. So through books, we can ask her to build her assertiveness. Number three is giving her an option that we can train her on assertiveness in the session. As a counselor, we can train her on assertiveness in the counseling session. So, out of the three options, one which is external assertiveness training, two reading assertiveness related books, and number three, in the counseling session. What do you think will be better? Okay, majority are saying in the counseling session. Yes, Shreya. So we are planning to, one of our goals is to make our client be more assertive with family members. So in order to achieve our goal, we'll have three options. One is asking her to subscribe to an assertiveness training program, asking her to join in an externally conducted program on assertiveness. Number two is asking her to read books on assertiveness. And number three is we train her on assertiveness in our counseling session. So which one would be better? So a lot of people are putting in their opinion as if the training her in. Okay, first one, if they are really skilled and can show results, if not three. All right, I think we are done with the responses. So, true. If I would be expert for assertiveness training, then definitely three. All right, that's a good one. So it goes like this. It is better to train her on assertiveness in the session because we need not send her to an because we need not send her to an external training agency because number one, the expenditure involved. She can't like pay for counseling and again pay for assertiveness training. We can't keep adding the expenses to our client. That is the reason number one. And number two, she isn't someone who doesn't know the ABC of assertiveness. Right? She has a very clear idea of what is assertiveness and she has the skill also. Right? She clearly knows how to demonstrate assertiveness. Her only problem is that she's not being able to be assertive with her family members. Right? It is only in a particular area where she cannot demonstrate the skill that she has got. So asking her to go for a skill training from the scratch is not advised in the first place. Number two, asking her to read books. It again lies in the same perspective. Number one, it is a time-consuming process. Right? It is going to take her some time to read it, process it, and practice it. And also, books on assertiveness are again very generic. It talks about the general skill of assertiveness. It doesn't give you any idea as to how to be assertive with family members. It is not subjectively defined. They're all generic, general approaches how to be assertive. So again, it talks about the common skill and not how to train a person, with a particular issue in assertiveness. So that option is also rolled out. And option three, it is better, it is the best option because, we know her story. We know her background, that she has some issues with her son and issues with her family members. She's not being able to be assertive. We know the case history. That is one advantage for us. So, with a clear understanding of the case history, we can do a lot of role plays in the session. Right? We can do a lot of role plays in the session where we can take the role of a family member, like her uncle or her sister-in-law, anybody. We will take that role and we will give her the chance to discuss assertively with us. Let her get a first-hand training from the counseling session. So, as the therapist there, we will be able to identify what are all missing. You know, where does she have a problem in being assertive with family members? What is stopping her? Is it because of some negative automatic thoughts? Or is it because of some irrational value system? What is the problem? So once we find that out, we might be able to help her much better than any other trainer on assertiveness. So training her in the counseling session will be the best choice available. And we did that. So she was very hesitant to have that conversation with her son and asking him to move out of the house. But then, after a lot of role playing, where we played the role of her son and she had that conversations, initially she was having a lot of mental breakdowns, emotional breakdowns, where she couldn't compile words to tell her son, you have to find your own place. But then we helped her, process it. We helped her frame what and how she's going to talk with her son. And she finally gained courage and she told her son one day that, you will have to move out of the house. And she gave her a deadline, like say 3 months, and within 3 months you have to find your own place and move. The son was very much happy to do it. So it was the other way around. Nothing negative happened when she addressed her son. She was highly afraid to do it because she was thinking about what might my son feel about the entire scene. But then he was happy. It was like he was waiting, when will mom ask me to move out of the house? So the moment the mother, the client said it to our client's son, he was like, sure, I'll move soon. So maybe the fact that he can't leave his single mother just like that and move to a different place, maybe that thought was bugging him down. Or maybe he was doing all of this intentionally for him to, make his mother do the talk. But anyways, he agreed to move, and then within a few weeks, he moved to a different place. So out of the 3 goals for therapy, the first goal happened. She asked him to move out of the house, and he did. Number 2, assertiveness with family members. That training was given in the session itself, so she picked up well. And number 3, where she has to have more positive perspectives about her own self. That was also fine. Right? That also happened because we used more of positive affirmations, positive self-statements, and she made it a practice to tell her own self those positive affirmations, and we kind of changed her perspective, changed her own perspective about motherhood, and we justify how asking her to do this is all fine. So the goals for therapy were met. Right? All the goals for therapy were met, and eventually her son moved out of the house, and it was an positive ending to the client. and we wind up the counseling relationship there. But exactly after 1 month or so, like 1.5 months, we had the same client come back. Right? We had the same client come back, but now she has different set of problems. She said that earlier I used to be very much bothered about how the house looks, and like she was very much focusing on keeping the house neat and clean and everything. But then now she's like, initially after my son left and after the house was in best form, things were all nice, right? I felt much better. But as days passed by, I felt a lot of emptiness in the house. A lot of emptiness in the house. And after a point, I stopped caring how the house looks at all. It didn't bother me any longer. Even I don't keep it very well, set nowadays. So after her son has left, the perspective towards life has also already changed. The emptiness, was hitting her hard. And then she said, my son is better now. He is visiting me often. He, like once in a while drops home, and he sometimes gets me something as well. He is very happy to live alone. He has his setup all done. So the goal of sending him out of house has been very fruitful. That part is very well done. But then now the client is feeling very lonely. And she's very clear that she doesn't want her son to be back in the house, because then that might again spoil him. Right? That might again spoil him. So she doesn't want to do that. She wants to, set him free. Let him be however he wants to. But she is not able to tolerate the loneliness that she has right now of living alone, the difficulty of living alone. So we might get a question here. Wasn't this discussed earlier in the session? Like when we were talking about sending the son out of the house, weren't we aware that after he is gone, she'll have to be alone, and the loneliness could be one threatening factor? We did discuss. Right? We did discuss. That was brought up as a matter of discussion. But then she was very sure about it. When the discussion was happening, she was very sure about it. She was like, no, I can very well live on my own. It won't bother me at all. No, I don't have a problem with living alone. So it was after a lot of reconfirmation, we finally decided that we will go with this action plan. But after it was how can we help her fight with her loneliness? To keep some paying guests. Okay. Engage in clubs. She can use her time by doing something productive. meditation or visiting a psychologist to talk about her issues. Yeah, she's with us here in the session. So she's talking about how she's feeling and reading books, taming pets, okay? Won't her son come back? No, no. He is all set. He is all set. He's living his life in the best form. He wouldn't want to come back, and even our client doesn't want him to come back as well. She feels that would be very selfish as an act. Engaging in something that interests her, okay? Anything else? Starting a school for small children, okay? Visiting grandchildren by visiting a son often and doing things that she always wanted to do. Okay. All right. So let me tell you what we did exactly in that case. We were discussing the possibilities, and she was very sure that she doesn't want to try anything out of her comfort zone. Like a lot of suggestions on running an business, like a very small setup, or like having a small entrepreneurial setup done in her own house, like maybe to deliver food or something which is matching her interests. She wasn't ready to do anything as such. She's like, no, I'm old, I'm done, I'm tired, I don't have the energy for all of it. So I prefer to just stay calm and relax. I don't want to do anything out of my way. So basically, she wants to beat the loneliness in a very passive way. I say passive because she's not ready to do anything, active to fight it. Like going out of the house or doing anything inside the house, she's not fine with it. And then we were discussing, like, are there someone in your family who would like to stay with you? She thought about it for a while and she was like, no, I do not prefer to bring in family members here, because then it will start to be a lot of restrictions. And it was fair, because it is just now that she's trying to be assertive with family members, and it wouldn't be nice if the struggle starts again. And then she had an insight, and our client asked, what if I bring in my friends to stay with me? And we were like, why not? And then she continued to explain that she has another friend in a different city who's again a widow, and she's just there living with the pension of her husband, and again a very passive lifestyle. Like they both reflect each other in a lot of areas. They're like, they go hand in hand. So we discussed the discussion headed towards the direction where what could be problematic, what can be an issue if they start to live together. And then nothing serious as an issue came up, because there is sufficient place in the house where they can live to their own self. And then if they just wish to spend some time together and friends, end of the day, so they are comfortable at their own skin with their friends, like they are that thick friends, and they always wanted to be together. They had good bond going on. So all of this connected, we found no potential threat or no potential problem that could come up if they both lived together. So we asked her to go ahead with the idea. Go ahead, ask your friend if she's ready to relocate and whether she can come and stay with you. And she came back in the next session and they said, no, yes, I asked my friend. No, she was, she took some time to think about it. Maybe she thought the same. No, what could go wrong? Will there be anything that would damage our friendship? So maybe she thought about it for a while and then she finally agreed and she's moving in the next month. So after her friend moved in, her issues with loneliness were also sorted. So she kept the house in the way she wanted to be, and she had good company, like someone who would understand her very well. They were a good company to each other, and then it was a smooth sail from that point. So this doesn't demand a lot of theories. This doesn't demand a lot of scientific approach as such. But then we'll have to understand problem solving from a very reality-oriented point of view. What is the problem and how it can be resolved in the best way possible. There are just 4 steps in problem solving. We have to identify what exactly is the problem. What exactly is a hindrance? What exactly is causing discomfort? What exactly is the problem? And we have to go about generating as many solutions as possible. We evaluate each solution and come up to the best one, and we will try to apply that solution and we'll see whether that is working. Just 4 steps. So instead of working on every idea that we get, we will filter it out by evaluating the merits and demerits so that we can avoid some damage in that area. So understand the problem, generate solutions, evaluate them, and then go with the best solution which you think would solve the problem. So this, what I provided here is a very small gist of the case, and how we set goals for the client, how we started working on it, and then how we handle it when there is an retaliation, like when they come back as a rebound, how do we handle it? Just an compilation of what happened with the case. Right? So is there any questions, any queries, anything that you guys would like to know? The chat box is open. You guys can feel free to comment and get it clarified. Yeah, so Srivalli has a question, what if a friend didn't accept? So that was one solution which we thought would be very effective. So we went with that. And as you say, if she didn't accept, we would have had to process another solution. Like say bringing in a different perspective. We'll have to brainstorm again. So with this particular case, since it worked out, we didn't proceed further. But then if it didn't, then I think we'll have to be brainstorm further and resolve it out. So Vidisha, let's say it is still called loneliness. That is the most disturbing sense of loneliness, when you are surrounded by people yet you feel lonely. That is most disturbing. So in that sense, we have to understand why exactly is it happening. We know the problem, but we have to know why the problem is there. Why is the problem existing? So maybe then we'll have to understand whether is there something that we can change from our end, like change in our approach, our perspectives, right? Maybe we are a little nosy. Maybe we are a little, very authoritatively questioning people around us, so that people try to stay avoid, like stay away from us. There could be reasons like that. So in the first approach, we'll have to find out what is wrong here, and go about changing in something in us, bringing about personal changes which will resolve the problem. And if say the client is genuine enough to say there is nothing wrong with me, but still I feel lonely, then there could be something with people around them, the setup around them, and then we'll try to empower the client to handle with those changes, changing the people around them. Or say it is a nuclear family, or like a small circle, a small system, we will bring the family to the counseling session, and then we'll handle them. Take their perspectives, and then help the family develop a better sense of bonding and understanding. Yeah. So it is just like a self-talk, man, where you have these statements, affirmations. So positive self-talk is nothing but affirmations where you can stand in front of a mirror and tell to your own self. You can also do it through journaling. That is fine. But easiest way, you can just say those positive affirmations to your own self. Better standing in front of a mirror and telling those statements. Okay, so for Aishwarya's question, they're living in a hostel or a PG and they're feeling lonely. We have to understand whether it is homesickness. Are they missing their parents or family members, or is it that they're not having the right set of friends? Right. So when you say ambivert, it is much easy and understandable. So they would be an extrovert with the right set of people, and they choose to be an introvert in the other way around. So all that they have to do is try to find a good company for them. Right. It is not that you'll never be able to find even one person, who is of the same mental alignment. So if it is not homesickness, if it is not like missing family or such scenes, it is just that they don't have good number of friends in the hostel or PG, then they'll have to find out who will match their mental alignment and try to be a little interactive with them. So that push has to come from their end. We'll have to push them to find friends, or at least if not for friends, ask them to make give them a homework, like you should do small talks with at least 5 people in your hostel today. Maybe the person who is serving dinner, you can have a small talk with them over the dining table, asking how was their day, how are they doing, where are they from, and just a small talk. So similarly with the office assistant, or with the warden, with some random people in the PG, like choose 5 people a day and do small talks. So with those small talks, the next time you'll be able to exchange smiles with them, right? Head nods and acknowledgements that you are that person, and then slowly continue the small talks, and you will have friends in the picture. So maybe you can start with small talks. All right, guys. So I do not see any questions coming in. So we shall wrap today's session. Thanks for your active participation for all the 3 days. We really enjoyed hosting you all, and I hope you're having some valuable takeaways from this 3 days of counseling crash course. So follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn to get regular updates on our workshops and training programs that we conduct. And those are interested to have a full-time, like a month-long course on counseling psychology, you can feel free to reach to us and enroll to the counseling psychology internship program. Thank you for your participation. Have a good week ahead, guys. Thank you.